Hey everybody, this is Perch. Are you reading the big Marvel summer blockbuster Avengers versus X-Men versus Eternals? Um, yeah, I'm sure the art is pretty nice in that book. It looks nice. I don't know. I run hot and cold on Kieran Gillian. I think that I've read some stuff of his I really like. I've read some stuff I absolutely detest. I think he did the X-Men several years ago. He did the Cave of Sinisters, where all the clones were running around, and it was the most obnoxious. I hated that run. Absolutely hated it. But on the other hand, I thought Wiccan the Divine was good that he did. I enjoyed that. I think that what's the other way? Once in Future, is that it? Anyway, he's I think he's done some good work. And I think he's one of those writers that seems best when he's doing independent stuff and not big two stuff. That just as a just very general rule. That's that's you know overall. I think the impression of him. But at any rate, he came into the X Men, and they kind of he came in with a kind of charging ahead big with the kind of cornerstone book, the Immortal X Men, and then fairly quickly he was. Moved into the the big summer event, which is basically where these the writers that Marvel wants to put some heat on. They go there. Donny Cates, of course, had his. Jason Aaron has had his. We'll have another certainly. That tends to be kind of the sign of how Marvel is trusting that writer to sell books. Kieran Gillian has been on Eternals, and that book hasn't sold particularly well. It's been quirky and different, and at times I've wanted to like it. But the narrator of the kind of obnoxious machine, like there's bits of it that just are funky. I guess the best way to put it. And the movie didn't help any, certainly. So I posted a panel from AXE number 2 on Twitter, and there's some irony to that, which I'll get to in a minute. But I posted a panel, and by the way, whenever I post a panel just up there, I typically try to post something funny, something that is odd in and of itself. I'm not posting it for a political statement. I'm not posting it with the intent of explaining the entire comic. And so it cracks me up. People sometimes come in and go, there's no context behind this panel. Yeah, I mean, no kidding. It's one panel. Comic books have many, more than one. So therefore, one panel will not tell you the story, and sometimes that's kind of the joke. So anyway, I mean that's kind of the point. Maybe I need to rename the account like Out of Context Panels. There's already somebody who has one of those. Does that guy take a lot of crap? I don't know. Anyway, so the panel is of a girl in a coffee shop, and the setup for this, the context, if you will, is that in this comic they have a couple pages, I think 3 pages total, where they're showing just average people, and there's 6 of them on a page, and they're trying to kind of portray that these people are, there's a more right-wing one, there's a younger one, there's a one that's super into games, someone who's more progressive, kind of just it's like, hey, here's a mix of society. And usually with hey, look, it's the rainbow of ethnicities and genders and preferences. It's like snapshot. Okay, nothing inherently wrong with that. But the point of this is that so I posted this one, and it says Katrina fires out well, you're seeing it on the screen right now. You've probably already read it, but let's help you out. It says Katrina fires out a supportive tweet. She gets a lot of positive interaction. It'll be an hour before the bigots come out. She wishes the retweets could be a shield above Krakoa. She knows it's not. But solidarity is a power too. The reason I post that up is the panel itself, to me, is insanely obnoxious. But it's not a big deal. A couple people came in, and why I'm doing this video, somebody actually sent me a mail going, I don't know what the big deal with that panel was. It was super cringy, but other than that, what's the big deal? It's like, no, that's it. That there isn't. That's all there is. It's not meant to make a statement bigger than that one. It's goofy. Why is it goofy? Well, I mean, you probably all have your own opinions, but here's a couple of the reasons, because this tweet got a bunch of interaction, and so whenever something gets a bunch of interaction, then it's a couple hours before the bigots come out and start labeling the, oh, here's another hater of comics, without understanding the joke. That's also the irony of this. And yes, I understand the irony of posting a cringy tweet, or sorry, a cringy, well, it's a cringy tweet, a cringy panel in a comic book about Twitter on Twitter. Right? Yeah, there's a whole snake eating its own tail thing going on here. But anyway, so why is this weird? Well, for one, and I'm saying this just as if I was explaining this to maybe a comic editor or a comic writer or somebody who doesn't really understand why would people react negatively to this kind of benign panel, which is drawn pretty well. It looks nice. It's a nice copy. There's a lot of detail in this coffee shop. I've come to appreciate the comic artists who put detail into their panels. Anyway, here's why people get annoyed with this. Number one, people are tired of Twitter overall, even though they use it. They're tired of Twitter becoming its own language, becoming its own culture, and they're tired of the overemphasis on Twitter, particularly in comics, where it feels like comic creators, writers, comic books play to Twitter as the primary audience, kind of the faceless mob of Twitter, as opposed to the customers who actually buy their comics. And even if the people who were very supportive on Twitter were buying their comics, every single one of them, you're still talking about a huge minority of the actual customer base that is buying the comics. Most people who buy the comics are not on Twitter. Marvel themselves, Marvel, the producers of this comic and this panel, stated that it was less than 5% and probably closer to 1% of active Twitter users who are buying their comics. So if we're taking Marvel at their word, that means 95% to 99% can't be fussed with Twitter. Yet the comics seem to overly focus on Twitter and tweeting so it comes across, the cringy part of it is it comes across like a hey fellow kids moment, where these people who don't really seem to understand Twitter, which is kind of an irony since the creators are usually on it, but they don't really seem to understand kind of the culture around it, are waving their hand saying, hey, pay attention to us, Twitter users, pay attention to us, younger generation is into new things. Hey, look, we sound like you, we're like you like us now. That's how it comes across. And it feels kind of blatantly, transparently pathetic, to be quite honest. That's how it plays. So that's irritation number one. Irritation number two is the line of, it'll be an hour before the bigots come out. The word bigot has now been used to apply to everyone and everything, and it really has become the meme of everyone I don't like is a fascist bigot. Does somebody not like a movie? Bigot. Any kind of negative interaction equals bigotry. That's what it's become. This entire concept is absurd, and people have come to resent. I mean, imagine this, shocking. Now brace yourself for what I'm about to say. People have come to resent being called bigots, and it's crazy, but it's true. It turns out they don't like it, particularly when they don't believe it applies to them. Now, I'm sure 100% of real and non-real bigots don't like being called bigot. Somebody who is actually racist doesn't like being called a racist. Nobody likes being called words that have negative connotations. A couple people own it, but most do not. But the problem is when you say, hey, did you not like, a movie? Did you like Top Gun? Well, Top Gun celebrated the industrial, military complex, and because it had a white lead, only bigots like that film. It's not me making up an example. This is an actual argument that's been put on Twitter. Do you, do you want all college loans to be repaid by the government? You don't. You are a bigot. That's the level of discourse. And so having had the bigot term, and certainly many comic creators have thrown around the bigot term. Some comic artists, I think including one of the cover artists for this series, has tossed around the if you are on YouTube, you're a bigot. Just on YouTube. I don't know if that means doing a show like this one, commenting on it, viewing a video and not commenting at all. I don't know, but everyone is a bigot. And so to see it pop up in a comic, it'll be she gets a lot of positive interaction, but it'll be an hour before the bigots come out. And then what? Get blocked? She puts down her phone? And then what? What are we trying to say here in this panel? That's the second frustration in all this. And then it's the solidarity is a power too issue. It becomes sort of eye rolling. And that's kind of all the things that are irritating people about the panel, that one's the sad one. Because once upon a time in comics, the 70s and 80s, one of the messages was whether you have powers or not, doing good deeds, trying to be a good person, trying to help is, the right thing to do. It's powerful. It's, everyone is a hero. You see these comics where Spider-Man's like thanking a policeman, a fireman, or Baker. Everybody's trying to keep the wheels of the world kind of rolling, moving. There is power in that everyone is a hero. And through your actions, you do good and you help. That's a good, inspiring, uplifting message. The challenge here, and again, why it's kind of sad, is that what we've equated it to is, hey, you know what being a hero is? Typing on Twitter and retweeting. If you retweeted, you're one of those great people. And now I guess I guess it's better that you're retweeting support for Krakoa in this fictional world than, say, murdering a puppy. I guess that's better. If you have to pick A or B, it's probably better B. But the whole thing just sparks of just nothing. It feels insignificant. It feels petty. So that's why people roll their eyes. And then there's a panel later in the book, same woman says she's still tweeting. Like time has passed, like hours have passed, and she's the only line is she's like standing up against the wall, hovered with her face over her phone, saying, she's still tweeting, which is kind of just sad. I mean, that's the shame of that is, as a follow up, it just feels sad. I don't know. And then it gets to the invariable: is this comics? I mean, yeah, it's comics because you drew something on a page and you put letters to it, and it's one panel of a story. So yes, this is a comic. This is what comics are. This is a comic. It just feels for a world weary and exhausted. This is one of those like read the room moments. People are tired of Twitter. They're tired of comics focusing on Twitter. They're tired of the battle of you're a bigot. No, you're a bigot. No, everybody who dislikes me is a bigot. No, you said my art looks a little weird. You're a bigot. Oh, it's gone way. It's not even anymore. You supported Trump. You're a bigot. It's, you didn't like Ghostbusters, the remake. You're a bigot. You thought it was you expressed happiness that Batgirl, a movie that you didn't want to see and didn't like, has been canceled. Therefore, it's not just that you're maybe insensitive to the actress or the producers, you're an actual hateful bigot. On the same vein as people who, slaughtered Jews back in World War II. They're the same now. Did you express some happiness that a movie isn't getting made? You support genocide. That's the exhaustion coming into play. Anyway. Hope that's my perspective on it anyway. That's my trying to be thoughtful and talk through why this stuff gets so tiring. I know you could kind of just quickly, lazily label it as, oh, it's just woke AF. Sure. But, every now and then it helps to actually explain the reasons. Those are the reasons. It's still pretty, it's colored nice. The art looks pretty good. I mean, it still looks a little sketchy. That's that pencil and inking with digital. It's getting this scratchy look that, feels a little less clean, and the digital coloring doesn't help with that. But I mean, it looks Looks pretty. No complaints. If more comics look like this, that'd be nice. But there you go. Hope that's helpful, or maybe you don't care. I don't know. But if you do care, please give this video a thumbs up, because solidarity is a power too. Thanks for listening.